The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Here it is 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. Your time is 5:02. This morning, a heartbreaking update on a teenager who was hit while riding his skateboard. According to the CHP, 16-year-old Angel Baruman was hit by a car yesterday as he crossed Niles Street at Brentwood Drive. It happened sometime between 5:45 and 6:38 a.m. Officials say the driver left the scene. Baruman's mother tells 17 News the teen was taken to Kern Medical, then airlifted to Valley Children's Hospital in Madera. She says a neurologist told her Angel is brain dead. The CHP is appealing to the public for help finding the driver.
The pedestrian did sustain major life-threatening injuries and was left unconscious at the scene because the driver of the unknown red vehicle fled the scene and failed to notify law enforcement or just call 911.
The CHP asks if you witnessed the crash or have any information, you can call their Bakersfield office at 396-6600. This latest incident happened just blocks away from where a 13-year-old boy was struck and killed by a vehicle back in 2019. It happened near the intersection of Niles Street and Park Drive. Alejandro Vargas Jr. was killed. Officials say he was running across Niles Street when he was struck by a pickup. June 30th marks 3 years since his death.
5:03 now, and if trends continue, more than 2,000 people will be infected with coronavirus today in Kern County. That's about how many people are testing positive each day. 1,600 new cases were reported yesterday by health officials. 36,000 people have been infected this month alone, making January the most infectious month of this pandemic. We also learned of another 3 people who lost their lives to COVID-19, although they actually passed away back in the fall. 318 people are in the hospital with the virus. 51 more are in the ICU. State models show the virus peaking sometime this week. That means we could be about halfway done with this surge. Although it is encouraging news, it means we're experiencing the worst of the virus. Hundreds of people could still end up in the hospital with the virus over the next few weeks. It also means tens of thousands could also come down sick. Meantime, 3 more state staff strike teams are on their way to help lighten the load of local hospitals. That announcement coming yesterday from Kern Public Health. These teams are expected to be in Kern County through at least the end of February. Ambulance strike teams are also arriving, consisting of 11 ambulances and 22 crew members, with an additional 10 paramedics. Public Health Director Bryn Kerrigan also said that more than 53% of Kern's population has now been fully vaccinated against the virus.
Public health officials also provided an update on how local skilled nursing facilities are faring since sweeping changes were made. You may remember early on in the pandemic, nursing homes were hit hard with COVID-19, with several outbreaks and deaths. During the first outbreak, then Kern Public Health Director Matt Constantine said basic disease control procedures were not being enforced. Yesterday, Public Health provided an update on the new procedures and safety protocols now in place to better protect our county's most vulnerable citizens.
Compared to the first wave, the percentage of hospitalized nursing home residents dropped dramatically in relation to the general population. Nursing home deaths decreased over time through the course of the pandemic, and that was not the case in the general population.
Some of the reasons for the improvement include an increase in the availability of personal protective equipment, training, more COVID-19 testing, and effective vaccination efforts.
California workers will once again have up to 2 weeks of paid sick leave to recover from COVID or care for a family member with the virus. That is according to a deal Governor Gavin Newsom and lawmakers reached yesterday. It would apply to businesses with 26 or more employees. A similar law from last year expired in September. In an effort to help cash-strapped companies, California would restore tax credits that were suspended 2 years ago.
And the Biden administration is officially withdrawing its vaccine or test mandate for employees at large companies. This after the Supreme Court ruled against the measure, saying OSHA overstepped its authority. The withdrawal is expected to take effect today. Without the mandate, employers are now subject to a patchwork of state and local laws on COVID-19 workplace safety.
Now to some developing news with the Bakersfield Police Department searching for a 12-year-old girl who ran away from home. Police say Jayla Bentello was last seen Friday on West Drive, not far from Kern Medical. Bentello is described as 5'4" and 100 pounds. She has shoulder-length curly black hair and brown eyes and a birthmark on her right cheek. Bentello is considered at risk because she has a prior history of running away. If you have any information on Jayla Bentello, call police.
17 Court Watch now. A hearing's been scheduled for April regarding a lawsuit filed against the county of Kern, claiming negligence in the decision to take Oren and Orson West from their birth parents and placing them in the custody of their adoptive parents. It's been just over a year and 1 month since the boys were reported missing from their home in California City. So far, the investigation has stalled. Bakersfield police are heading that investigation. The boy's biological father, Charles Pettis, filed the lawsuit against the county. The hearing is set for April 4th. President Biden is ramping up the rhetoric, warning of enormous consequences if Russia invades Ukraine. NBC's Bree Jackson's in Washington with more on the administration's response to the growing crisis.
Good morning, Maddie. President Biden says he's close to a decision about whether to send additional U.S. troops to NATO countries near Ukraine. He's also threatening personal sanctions against Russian President Vladimir Putin. More U.S. weapons, ammunition, and other equipment arriving in Ukraine, part of a $200 million package. The Biden administration using a mix of weapons and words to send a strong message to Russian President Vladimir Putin.
If he were to move into Ukraine, that there'd be severe consequences.
President Biden telling reporters he's considering economic sanctions on Russia and might sanction Putin personally if he invades. Russia denies planning an incursion, insisting the U.S. and NATO are fueling tensions, not the buildup of Russian troops at Ukraine's border. All while NATO countries, big and small, are now moving east, sending jets and vowing to defend the region. Concerns over growing tensions overseas has sparked rare bipartisan calls for action on Capitol Hill.
We should be providing the Ukrainians, along with our NATO partners, resources to defend themselves.
Once the Russians have grabbed a piece of Ukraine or tried to overthrow the entire government, it's really too late.
As of now, President Biden says he has no intention of sending American forces into Ukraine, but sends assurances to allies that assistance is available.
There's no reason for anyone, any member of NATO, to worry whether or not we, NATO, would come to their defense.
8,500 American troops remain on heightened alert. President Biden says a deployment decision would be based on Putin's actions. According to senior administration officials, President Biden is considering publicly outlining his Ukraine strategy in a speech or an interview. In Washington, I'm Bree Jackson, 17 News.
5:35 is our time now, and making news around the state this morning. A campaign to crack down on human trafficking was launched at Los Angeles International Airport yesterday. The goal is to bring awareness to the issue ahead of the Super Bowl. Officials say the big game can be a magnet for high levels of human and sex trafficking. LAX will feature signs throughout the nearly 500 restrooms, providing resources to help people identify and report suspected human trafficking. And just a reminder, there are resources available with several ways to call for help against human trafficking. You can call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888. Or locally, the Child Protective Services Hotline at 661-631-6011. You can also visit the Department of Human Services website, kcdhs.org, for a list of resources and information.
A procession yesterday honored an Elk Grove police officer killed by a suspected drunk driver. Police say Ty Lenahan was riding his motorcycle to work Friday when he was hit by a driver who was going the wrong way on Highway 99. Lenahan was a 6-year veteran of the Elk Grove Police Department. He is survived by his wife and 2 kids. The driver accused of hitting Lenahan is being held on suspicion of DUI.
San Jose has voted to require gun owners to carry liability insurance in what's believed to be the first measure of its kind here in the U.S. The San Jose City Council overwhelmingly approved the measure last night, despite opposition from some gun owners who said it would violate their Second Amendment rights. The council also voted to require thousands of gun owners in the city to pay a small fee, which would be used for firearm safety education and services such as domestic violence prevention and mental health services. The proposal aims at reducing gun violence in the Bay Area city.
Welcome back here at 5:42. A Michigan woman found out that she won a $3 million Mega Millions lottery jackpot by checking her spam folder. Laura Spears played the lottery by buying a ticket online for the December 31st drawing. Spears says, a few days later, I was looking for a missing email from someone, so I checked my spam folder, and that's when I saw an email from the lottery saying I'd won a prize. The shocked Spears later traveled to the lottery headquarters to claim her giant check there. Thank goodness she checked her spam folder and actually believed what she was reading, because that's I don't believe any email that I get saying I won anything.
I was going to say, no, you're talking about a lucky woman.
I'm still going through my spam folder after that story.
Yeah.
I had like 50,000 spam emails. I'm still going through them. You never know.
Be careful what you click on, though.
Well, and I was wondering if it was like one of those, I was telling Alex yesterday, one of those second chance drawings to where you do a scratch it, you can scan it, you get into a second chance. I wonder if maybe that's what she did, and so she won the second chance drawing that went to her spam, because she seemed like she didn't even know she bought a lottery ticket.
Yeah, but hey, $3 million.
She's not complaining.
First or second chance, I'll take it.
Here's where she's incredibly smart, right? She saw it in her spam folder. She went to the Michigan Lottery website.
Right.
She didn't click on anything.
Yes.
That's also a big part of the story.
Don't click on the email that says you won a lottery.
If it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Just check it out.
Just check it out and go somewhere. Don't click.
Yeah.
Otherwise, good advice this morning. Our IT guys, thank you for sharing that.
Or you could be out $3 million.
Yeah, I was going to say.
$100.
I think we all know that we've been through IT training.
Yes.
Yeah.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.